Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are reading today from Postcolonial Love Poem by Natalie Diaz. Natalie Diaz was born, this is from the Poetry Foundation, I'm quoting, on September 4, 1978, in the Fort Mojave Indian Village in Needles, California. She is Mojave and an enrolled member of the Gila River Indian community. She earned a BA from Old Dominion University, where she received a full athletic scholarship. Diaz played professional basketball in Europe and Asia before returning to Old Dominion to earn an MFA. She is the author of the poetry collections Postcolonial Love Poem 2020, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, and When My Brother Was an Aztec 2012. Love, desire, new growth merge with earth, with feminine divinity in Postcolonial Love Poem. In her poem, American Arithmetic, she writes, I am doing my best to not become a museum of myself. I am begging, let me be lonely but not invisible, end of quote. She writes mythically about basketball in Run and Gun, quote, I learned to play ball on the res. Only a tribal shot has an art made of sky. Her love for her brother is indelible. From the Mustangs, quote, we ran up and down the length of our lives, all of us lit by the lights of the gym, toward freedom, we Mustangs. On these nights, we were forgiven for all we would ever do wrong, end of quote. Her basketball poems are arguably the best ever written on basketball. Her poetry, focused on body and land, is sensuous. Quote, we must go to the point of the lance entering the earth and the river becoming the first body bursting from earth's clay body into my sudden body. End of quote. She wrote in, the first water is the body. And this is the couple of lines that I just really love. In quote, exhibits from the American Water Museum, Diaz wrote, quote, let us say to one another, I am yours, and know finally that we will only ever be as much as we are willing to save of one another, end of quote. Natalie Diaz really is an astonishing poet. The magnificent actresses who are reading are, in order of appearance, Corinne Conley, Kay Weissman, Helen Richman. Here's Corinne Conley.
Postcolonial Love Poem. I've been taught bloodstones can cure a snake bite, can stop the bleeding. Most people forgot this when the war ended. The war ended, depending on which war you mean, those we started, before those, millennia ago, and onward. Those which started me, which I lost and won, these ever-blooming wounds. I was built by wage, so I wage love and worse. Always another campaign to march across a desert night for the cannon flash of your pale skin settling in a silver lagoon of smoke at your breast. I dismount my dark horse, bend to you there, deliver you the hard pull of all my thirsts. I learned drink in a country of drought. We pleasure to hurt, leave marks the size of stones, each a cabochon polished by our mouths. I, your lapidary wheel turning green mottled red, the jaspers of our desires. There are wildflowers in my desert which take up to 20 years to bloom. The seeds sleep like geodes beneath hot feldspar sand until a flash flood bolts the arroyo, lifting them in its copper current, opens them with memory. They remember what their God whispered into their ribs. Wake up and ache for your life. Where your hands have been are diamonds on my shoulders, down my back, thighs. I am your Culebra. I am in the dirt for you. Your hips are quartz light and dangerous, two rose-horned rams ascending a soft desert wash before the November sky untethers 100-year flood. The desert returns suddenly to its ancient sea. Arise, the wild heliotrope, scorpion weed, blue phacelia, which hold purple the way a throat can hold the shape of any great hand. Great hands is what she called mine. The rain will eventually come, or not. Until then, we touch our bodies like wounds. The war never ended, and somehow begins again. Bloodlight. My brother has a knife in his hand. He has decided to stab my father. This could be a story from the Bible, if it wasn't already a story about stars. I weep alacrans. The scorpions clatter to the floor like yellow metallic scissors. They land upside down and on their backs and eyes, but writhe and flip to their segmented bellies. My brother has forgotten to wear shoes again. The scorpions circle him, whip at his heels. In them is what stings in me. It brings my brother to the ground. He rises, still holding the knife. My father ran out of the house, down the street, crying like a lamplighter. But nobody turned their lights on. It is dark. The only light left is in the scorpions. There is a small light left in the knife, too. My brother now wants to give me the knife. Some might say, my brother wants to stab me. He tries to pass it to me, like it is a good thing, like, don't you want a little light in your belly? Like the way Orion and Scorpius across all that black night pass the sun. My brother loosens his mouth, between his teeth, throbbing red Antares. One way to open a body to the stars, with a knife. One way to love a sister, help her bleed light. 3. These hands, if not God's, haven't they moved like rivers, like glory, like light over the 7 days of your body? And wasn't that good? Them at your hips? Isn't this what God felt when he pressed together the first beloved? Everything. Fever, vapor, Atman, pulses. Finally a sin worth hurting for. A fervor, sweet, you are mine. It is hard not to have faith in this. From the blue-brown clay of night, these two potters crushed and smoothed you into being. Grind, then curve, built your form up, atlas of bone, fields of muscle, one breast a fig tree, the other a nightingale, both morning and evening. Oh, the beautiful making they do of trigger and carve, suffering and stars. Aren't they too the carpenters of your small church? Have they not burned on the altar of your belly, eaten the bread of your thighs, broke you to wine, to ichor, to nectareous feast? Haven't they riveted your wrists? Haven't they had you at their knees? And when these hands touched your throat, showed you how to take the apple and the rib, how to slip a thumb into your mouth and taste it all, didn't you sing out their 99 names? Zahir, Aleph, Hand Time 7, Sphinx, Leonids, Locomotura, Lubidium, August and September. And when you cried out, "Oh, Prometheans," didn't they bring fire? These hands, if not God's, then why, when you have come to me, and I have returned you to that from which you came, white mud, mica, mineral, salt, why then do you whisper, "Oh, my Hakatanshir, my Sentinmani, my 100-handed one"? From the desire field. I don't call it sleep anymore. I'll risk losing something new instead. Like you lost your Rosensman, like you lost your Rosen moon, shook it loose. But sometimes when I get my horns in a thing, a wonder, a grief, or a line of her, it is a sticky and ruined fruit to unfasten from, despite my trembling. Let me call my anxiety desire then. Let me call it a garden. Maybe this is what Lorca meant when he said, "Verde que te quiero verde." Because when the shade of night comes, I am a field of it, and any worry ready to flower in my chest. My mind in the dark is una bestia, unfocused, hot, and if not yoked to exhaustion beneath the hip and plow of my lover, then I am another night wandering the desire field, bewildered in its low green glow, belling the meadow between midnight and morning. Insomnia is like spring that way, surprising and many-petaled. The kick and leap of gold grasshoppers at my brow. I am struck in the witched hours of want. I want her green life, her inside me in a green hour I can't stop. Green vein in her throat, green wing in my mouth, green thorn in my eye. I want her like a river goes, bending, green, moving. Fast as that. This is how it happens. Soy una sonambula. And even though you said today you felt better, and it is so late in this poem, is it okay to be clear, to say, I don't feel good? To ask you to tell me a story about the sweet grass you planted, and tell it again or again, until I can smell its sweet smoke, leave this thrashed field and be smooth. Manhattan is a Lenape word. It is December and we must be brave. The ambulance's rows of light glooming against the window, its single siren cry, "Help me!" The silk red shadow unbolting like water through the orchard of her thigh. Her, come in the green light, a lion. I sleep her bees with my mouth of smoke, dip honey with my hands stung sweet on the darksome hive. Out of the eater I eat, meaning she is mine colony. The things I know aren't easy. I'm the only Native American on the 8th floor of this hotel, or any, looking out any window of a turn-of-the-century building in Manhattan. Manhattan is a Lenape word. Even a watch must be wound. How can a century or a heart turn if nobody asks, where have all the natives gone? If you are where you are, then where are those who are not here? Not here. Which is why in this city I have many lovers. All my loves are reparations loves. What is loneliness if not unimaginable light and measured in lumens? An electric bill which must be paid. A taxi cab floating across 3 lanes with its lamp lit. Gold in wanting. At 2 a.m., everyone in New York City is empty and asking for someone. Again, the siren's same wide note, "Help me," meaning I have a gift and it is my body, made two-handed of gods and bronze. She says, "You make me feel like lightning." I say, "I don't ever want to make you feel that white." It's too late. I can't stop seeing her bones. I'm counting the carpals, metacarpals of her hand inside me. One bone, the lunate bone, is named for its crescent outline. Lunatus, Luna. Some nights she rises like that in me, like trouble, a slow, luminous flux. The street lamp beckons the lonely coyote wandering West 29th Street by offering its long wrist of light. The coyote answers by lifting its head and crying stars. Somewhere, far from New York City, an American drone finds then loves a body. The radiant nectar it seeks through great darkness makes a candle hour of it and burns gently along it like American touch and unbearable heat. The siren song returns in me. I sing it across her throat. Am I what I love? Is this the glittering world I've been begging for?
American arithmetic. Native Americans make up less than 1% of the population of America. 0.8% of 100%. Oh, mine efficient country. I do not remember the days before America. I do not remember the days when we were all here. Police kill Native Americans more than any other race. Race is a funny word. Race implies someone will win. Implies I have as good a chance of winning as who Who wins the race that isn't a race? Native Americans make up 1.9% of all police killings, higher per capita than any race. Sometimes race means run. I'm not good at math. Can you blame me? I've had an American education. We are Americans, and we are less than 1% of Americans. We do a better job of dying by police than we do existing. When we are dying, who should we call? The police? Or our senator? Please, someone, call my mother. At the National Museum of the American Indian, 68% of the collection is from the United States. I am doing my best to not become a museum of myself. I am doing my best to breathe in and out. I am begging, let me be lonely, but not invisible. But in an American room of 100 people, I am Native American. Less than one, less than whole. I am less than myself. Only a fraction of a body. Let's say I'm only a hand. And when I slip it beneath the shirt of my lover, I disappear completely. They don't love you like I love you. My mother said this to me long before Beyonce lifted the lyrics from the yeah, yeah, yes. And what my mother meant by don't stray was that she knew all about it, the way it feels to need someone to love you, someone not your kind, someone white, someone, some many who live because so many of mine have not, and further live on top of those of ours who don't. I'll say, I'll say, what is the United States if not a clot of clouds? If not spilled milk or blood? If not the place we once were in the millions? America is maps. Maps are ghostly white and layered with people and places I see through. My mother has always known best. Knew that I'd be begging for them to lay my face against their white laps, to be held in something more than the loud light of their projectors as they flicker themselves, sepia or blue, all over my body. All this time, I thought my mother said, wait, as in, give them a little more time to know your worth. When really, she said, wait, meaning heft, preparing me for the yoke of myself, the beast of my country's burdens, which is less worse than my country's plow. Yes, when my mother said, they don't love you like I love you, she meant, Natalie, that doesn't mean you aren't good. Run and gun. I learned to play ball on the res, an outdoor courts where the sky was our ceiling. Only a tribal kid shot has an arc made of sky. We balled in the res park against a tagged backboard with a chain for a net, where I watched A Hulapi boy from Peach Springs dunked the ball in a pair of flip-flops and slipped on the slick concrete to land on his wrist. His radius fractured and ripped up through his skin like a tusk, which didn't stop him from pumping his other still beautiful arm into the air and yelling, "Yeah, Clyde the Glide, motherfuckers," before some adult sped him off to the emergency room. I ran games in the abandoned schoolyard with an 8-foot fence we had to hop, where I tore so many pairs of shorts on the top spikes, and where, when my little brother got snagged trying to climb down, my cousin and I let him hang by the waistband of his underwear for an entire game of 11. And if that cousin hadn't overdosed on heroin a few years later, he might have proved us right and become the first res jump man. I got run by my older brother on our slanted driveway, the same brother I write about now, who taught me that there is nothing easy in our desert, who blocked every shot I ever took against him until I was about 12 years old. By then, his addictions had stolen his game while I found mine. I learned the game with my brothers and cousins, with my friends and enemies. We had jacked up shoes and mismatched socks. Our knees were scabbed and we licked our lips chapped. We were small, but we learned to play big enough to beat the bigger, older white kids at the rec center on the hill, which we crossed underneath the 140 freeway, across the train tracks, and through a big sandy wash. We played bigger and bigger until we began winning. And we won by doing what all Indians before us had done against their bigger, whiter opponents. We became coyotes and rivers, and we ran faster than their fancy kicks could, up and down the court, game after game. We became the weather. We blew by them. We rained buckets. We lit up the gym with our moves. We learned something more important than fist, at least at that age. We learned to make guns of our hands, and we pulled the trigger on jumpers all damn day. And when they talked about the way we played, they called it run and gun, and it made them tired before they ever stepped on the court. Just thinking about a pickup game against us make the white boys from the junior high and high school teams go to sleep while they slept. We played our dreams. Top 10 reasons why Indians are good at basketball. Number 1, the same reason why we are good in bed. Number 2, because a long time ago, Creator gave us a choice. You can write like an Indian god, or you can have a jump shot sweeter than 44 cans of government grape juice, one or the other. Everyone but Sherman Alexie chose the jump shot. Number 3, we know how to block shots, how to stuff them down your throat, because when you say shoot, we hear howitzer and Hotchkiss and Springfield Model 1875. Number 4, when Indian ballers sweat, we emit a perfume of tortillas and pine sol floor cleaner that works like a potion to disorient our opponents and make them forget their plays. 5, we grew up knowing that there is no difference between a basketball court and church. Really, the Nazarenes hold church in the tribal gym on Sunday afternoons. Their choir belts out in the sweet by and by from the low block. 6. When Walt Whitman wrote, "The half-breed straps on his light boots to compete in the race," he really meant that all Indian men over age 40 have a pair of vintage Air Jordans in their closets and believe they are still magic enough to make even the largest combat bod able to go coast to coast and finish a layup. 7. Indians are not afraid to try skyhooks in real games, even though no Indian has ever made a skyhook. No Indian from a federally recognized tribe, anyway. But still, our shamelessness to attempt skyhooks in warm-up strikes fear in our opponents, thus giving us a mental edge. 8. On the court is the one place we will never be hungry. That net is an emptiness we can fill up all day long. 9. We pretend we are playing every game for a Pendleton blanket, and the MVP gets a mash and tucket Pequot size per capita check. 10. Really, though all Indians are good at basketball because a basketball has never been just a basketball. It has always been a full moon in this terminal darkness. The one tail light to Jimmy Jack Tall Can's gray Canada cutting along the back dirt roads on a beer run. The creator's heart that Coyote stole from the funeral pyre, cursing him to walk alone through every coral dusk. It has always been a fat gourd we sing to, the left breast of a Mojave woman, where Budweiser's into a Saturday night. It will always be a slick, bright bullet we can sling from the three-point arc with 5 seconds left on the clock in the year 1492. And as it rips down through the net, our enemies will fall to their wounded knees with torn ACLs.
That which cannot be stilled. Ash can make you clean, as alkaline as it is a grief. My internal research calls it a disinfectant. But life is faster research and unavoidable. Dirty Indian, a phrase blown like magnetite dust against the small bones in my ear many times and dark. Sometimes I believed them. I'd look around my reservation, around our yard, our house. Dirty, I'd say. Like I was a doctor with a diagnosis, except I was the condition. All my life I've been working to get clean. To be clean is to be good in America. To be clean is the grind. Except my desert is made of sand, my skin the color of sand. It gets everywhere. America is the condition of the blood and of the rivers, of what we can spill and who we can spill it from. A dream, they call it, what is American. Back home, we believe in dreams. Heed what happens in fours as lucky. 4 iterations of anything in a dream, a shade, an ancestor, a gesture, a cloud. 4 fat quails making a campanile of the mesquite tree. 4 hands shuttling nighthawks along a loon of electrical wires. I've had a recurring dream my entire life. It is night. I'm in the dune field on the edge of the res, tending each blue gold mound smooth, undisturbed. each quartzed particle in its place. But a baby is crying in the green wooden crib, or someone is fighting someone else, a quavering radio, a distempered dog. I sorrow for silence, motion the dune soft with my hands, and please, which is no invitation for peace. I step lightly, I am holding my breath, maintaining to keep it all from shifting. Then it happens. Through what was perfect, a carbon rubble sifts up, tangled rebar, torn fences, scrambled sheet metal, oxidized and spiking, breaking the sand like it's my own skin. I feel the junk of it all in my body, arising wild. I can't stop the happening. The rusting is in me, like how a deep wound heals, glimmered open. There is no pattern of 4 in this dream, just land and it's moving. The dunes and how they are taken, organized and reckoned, grains loosened, Archimedes' myriads sifting in a coppered stream saltation. They call it from Latin saltare, meaning to jump or leap. Isn't that what we do on the page? John Ashbery died today, and tomorrow is my birthday. Maybe death is a way to clean the self of the body, to finally celebrate it. A celebration should leave a mess. Oh, lit pyre of my anxiety, the ash silver, it streaks heavy across my chest and brow. The doctor asked, "Do you feel a sense of doom?" Instead of replying, I wrote, "What do you call a group of worms if not a worry? If not a wonder?" That was before I knew a dune has a slip face and a slack. I have read more Ashbery today than I read when he lived. It's true that life can be anything, but certain things definitely aren't it. Like the red sugar horses and their satellite eyes sphering and sick beneath the decks of your body, their ship. We know how to speak to our conquerors, don't we? What if you whisper into the long ear of one, say, "Beloved occupier, beloved hoof and stiff green gallop." Then tell them a story about the horse latitudes, a place so still not even the wind will go there. That if they can't get it together, won't quit making a mess of you, those animals won't stop carouseling their blood to hippodrome. We might take them there to some vast middle, lead them over the decks, and far from the desert give them up to the sea. Watch the slow green-blue dunes lift open and disrupt everything which cannot be stilled. I, Minotaur. I am an invention. Dark alarm. Briareus's hands striking the bells of my blood. Whose toll am I? I think too much. Each morning, the Manotoromoki. Through the night, I swing the sickle of my wonders, a harvest work of touch and worry. Spend dawn and its day burning my dead, who fell in the night, what the night reaped. I am every answer, a mathematics of anxiety. How any mall can solve the mesquite tree for the pyre. In my chest, I am two-hearted always. Love and what love becomes arrive when they want to, and hungry. The locusts disappeared the fields then themselves. I bent, wept alone on the threshing floor. Not for what would stick to the feast, I wept for the locusts. I know what it's like to be appetite of your own appetite, citizen of what savages you, to dare bloom pleasure from your wounds and to bleed out from that bouquet. A head like mine was shaped on thirst. I dream what is wet or might quench aquifers, rivers, cenotes, canals. The dusked mirage of lake above your knee, I sip and lick, my tongue blush as the fluorescent ear of a jackrabbit. I obey what I don't understand, then I become it, which needs no understanding. The astonishment of my body's limits, how it is easily divided by a black field, and the black field multiplied in stars, the throng of a lover constellating. Like any desert, I learn myself by what's desired of me, and I am demoned by those desires. For this, I move like a wound, always and fruiting, sweetened by the thorn. The tumbleweed turns and turns until it bursts free all its spores into the wind, until it is only what it might become. There is no such thing as time or June, only what you're born into, only waiting for the rain, for the flood, for what erupts my badlands and my tired eyes in beauty, Mojave aster, desert globe mallow, where once was terrible nothing. There is no God here in these flesh hours, though your jaw is a temple and your hips strike like an axe, the labras I injure myself against. But you called to hear by me come softly into the bull noon of my body, and not unknowingly. You've heard me chum and lather, yet knock and enter. Together we are the color of magnets, and also their doing. Manganese, lodestone, ores, the light will not touch. So we touch the light, give it to one another until we are riddled and leaking with it. What else can we prostrate or set before the large feet of our creators, if not the diminishment of the body, this book of scars? Sand grinds like gears between my teeth, sparkling small machinery of want. What question can I ask of the thing I am? All I have done and failed to do, the furrows I tear with my grief mouth, a map of myself carved by my own horns. I have a name, yet no one who will say it not roughly. I am your native, and this is my American labyrinth. Here I am, at your thighs, lilac-lit pools of ablution. Take my body and make of it a nation, a confession. Through you, even I can be clean. How the Milky Way was made. My river was once unseparated, was Colorado. Red, fast flood, able to take anything it could wet in a wild rush all the way to Mexico. Now it is shattered by 15 dams over 1,450 miles, pipes and pumps, filling swimming pools and sprinklers in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. To save our fish, we lifted them from our skeleton riverbeds, loosed them in our heavens, and set them aster, aki ahan, Mojave salmon, Colorado pike minnow. Up there they glide, gilled with stars. You see them now, god-large, gold-green sides, lunar white belly to breast, making their great speeded way across the darkest hours, rippling the sapphire sky water into a galaxy road. The blurred wake they drag as they make their path through the night sky is called Akikan Minui, our words for Milky Way. Coyote, too, is up there, locked in the moon after his failed attempt to leap it, fishing net wet and empty slung over his back, a prisoner blue and dreaming of unzipping the salmon silk skins with his teeth. Oh, the weakness of any mouth as it gives itself away to the universe of a sweet milk body. As my own mouth is dreamed to thirst the long desire ways, the 100,000 light-year roads of your wrists and thighs. Cranes, mafiosos, and a Polaroid camera. I had a few days left of my stay at the Crane Sanctuary in Kearney, Nebraska, when my brother called. It was 3:24 a.m. "It's me," he said. "It's your brother." He had taken apart another Polaroid camera and needed me to explain how to put it back together. His voice was a snare drum, knocking and quick. He was crying. I didn't want to wake the other visitors, and I knew he'd keep calling hour after hour, day after day, lifetime after miserable lifetime, until I answered. I slid out of bed. "Tell me what to do." "You know what to do," he pleaded. I should know how to help my brother by now. He and I have had this exact conversation before. If I love him, if I really love him, why haven't I learned to reassemble a Polaroid camera? Instead, I told him about the sandhill cranes, the way they dance, moving into and giving way to one another, bowing down, cresting and collapsing their wings, necks and shoulders, silver curls of smoky rhythm. But he didn't believe me. My brother believes the mafia placed a transmitter deep within his Polaroid camera, but he can't believe in dancing cranes. "You think this is a joke?" he whispers. "These are fucking mafiosos I'm talking about. You're probably next." He hung up on me. That dawn, I aimed my digital camera at the sky until the last of an island of late-rising cranes lifted into the metallic air. I couldn't take my eyes from the barrel of lens, my finger fast trigger against the black skeleton of the camera. I wondered what it would look like, cracked open to its upside-down mirrors and polished levers, how many screws there were, how many lantern-lit cranes might come unfurling out of that cage. I wondered what I would look like if the darkened chambers of my body were unlocked. What streams of light might escape me and reveal about the things I collect and hide? And is there a difference between aperture and wound? Mostly I wondered where my brother keeps getting those goddamn Polaroid cameras. Waist and sway. I never meant to break, but streetlights dressed her gold, the curve and curve of her shoulders, the hum and hive of them, moon-glossed pillory of them, nearly felled me to my knees. How can I tell you? The amber of her, the body of honey. I took it in my hands. Oh, city, where hands turned holy, her city, where my hands went undone, gone to ravel, to silhouette, to moths at the mercy of the pale of her hips, hips that in the early night to light lit up, to shining sweet electricos, to luminous and lamp, where ached to drink I did till drunk, where in her rocked the dark Zygmunt, her by then a cathedral tower, one breast's rose window, one breast room of alchemists, where from her came a tolling the music of yoke and crown, of waist and sway. Wanting her was so close to prayer, should not. But it was July, and in a city where desire means upstairs we can break each other open, the single blessing I had to give was no. So gave, and gave I did. Every night has a woman for temptation. Every city has a fable for fruit. Like in the castle gardens, where jackdaws wait and glaze-eyed along the walls for a taste of new, of figs unsweet yet beryl bright, enough for wonder. Not jackdaw, but different. How I destroy myself on even the least of the sweetest things. The salt of her burned not long on my tongue, but like stars, I never meant to break. But love, the hymn and bells of her. Even now there are nights I climb the narrow stairway to an apartment at Ruckaney Square, where a door opens to a room, and the shadowed fig of her mouth, cleaved sweet open, and in me ringing.
If I should come upon your house lonely in the West Texas desert, I will swing my lasso of headlights across your front porch. Let it drop like a rope of knotted light at your feet. While I put the car in park, you will tie and tighten the loop of light around your waist, and I will be there with the other end wrapped 3 times around my hips, horned with loneliness. Reel me in across the glow-throbbing sea of green thread, blue stem prickly poppy, the white inflorescence of yucca bells, up the dust-lit stairs into your arms. If you say to me, this is not your new house, but I am your new home, I will enter the door of your throat, hang my last lariat in the hallway, build my altar of best books on your bedside table, turn the lamp on and off, on and off, on and off. I will lie down in you, eat my meals at the red table of your heart. Each steaming bowl will be just right. I will eat it up, break all your chairs to pieces. If I try running off into the deep purpling scrub brush, you will remind me there is nowhere to go if you are already here, and pat your hand on your lap, lighted by the Topazian lux of the moon through the window. Say, here, love, sit here. When I do, I will say, and here I still am. Until then, where are you? What is your address? I am hurting. I am riding the night on a full tank of gas, and my headlights are reaching out for something. My brother, my wound. He was calling in the bulls from the street. They came like a dark river, a flood of chest and hoof, everything moving under splinter, hooked their horns through the walls, light hummed the holes like yellow jackets. My mouth was a nest torn empty. Then he was at the table, then in the pig's jaws. He was not hungry. He was stuck. He was a bad apple. He was choking. So I punched my fist against his stomach. Mars flew out and broke open or bloomed. How many small red eyes shut in that husk. He said, look, look. And I did. He slid his fork between my ribs. Yes, he sang, a Jesus side wound. It wouldn't stop bleeding. He reached inside and turned on the lamp. I never knew I was also a lamp until the light fell out of me, dripped down my thigh, flew up in me, caught in my throat like a canary. Canaries really mean dogs, he said. He put on his shoes. You started this with your mouth, he pointed. Where are you going? I asked. To ride the Ferris wheel, he answered, and climbed inside me like a window.
Grief work. Why not now go toward the things I love? I have walked slow in the garden, gazed the black flower, dilating her animal eye. I give up my sorrows the way a bull gives its horns, astonished, and wishing there is rest in the body's softest parts. Like Jacob's angel, I touched the garnet of her hip, and she knew my name, and I knew hers. It was oxochromo. It was homophoro. It was Eliza. When the eyes and lips are brushed with honey, what is seen and said will never be the same. So why not take the apple in your mouth in flames, in pieces, straight from the knife's sharp edge? Achilles chased Hector around the walls of Ilium 3 times. How long must I circle the high gate between her hip and knee to solve the red gold geometry of her thigh? Again, the gods put their large hands in me, move me, break my heart like a clay jug of wine, loosen a beast from some dark, long depth. My melancholy is hoofed. I, the terrible, beautiful Lampon, a shining devour horse, tethered at the bronze manger of her collarbones. I do my grief work with her body, labor to make the emerald tigers in her throat leap, lead them burning green to drink from the deep violet jetting her breast. We go where there is love, to the river, on your knees beneath the sweet water. I pull her under 4 times until we are rivered. We are rearranged. I wash the silk and silt of her from my hands. Now, who I come to, I come clean to. I come good to.
Thank you all for such a glorious, strong, loving, elegiac, luminous reading. I love that line that Corinne just said, we go where there is love. And we certainly do. And I know it's a little bit after 2. Jennifer, shall we wrap it up or shall we talk a couple minutes?
You can talk a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. And please do, because we can't just have this incredible hour of poetry and not make comments about it.
Let's go start with the order we read in Corinne, Kay, and Helen. Corinne?
Well, it was wonderfully helpful to me to hear the other readers and their poems, because it all seemed to impact what I had just read. Some of it I had not understood as deeply as I could, but the poems that they read, which more or less told more about her life and the life of the Native Americans that we sometimes don't investigate that fully. But of course, we do all know the pain that has been inflicted on these people. So it's all there in her poetry, and it's really hard. It can be hard to take, but isn't it wonderful that they have this beautiful poetic spokesperson speaking for them? And I just hope that we listened to them, our native people, the great environmentalists they are, and hope we can help them give back and improve our land as we have taken and so destroyed it in so many ways, which they have a lot to complain about in that way. Anyway, please, someone else. I know how you girls must feel too, but go ahead, please.
One of the words, I've forgotten one of the words that you just used, and I said, oh, yes, because I found these wonderful poems, everything, disturbing and sad and brave and strong, and they shook me up, and sexy and not afraid to speak her mind. I think she's just wonderful. And I loved being able to say them. And thank you, Harry, for this opportunity that you give us to do this and to find her. Thank you.
I was very interested to read more about her, and that she was a language activist. Words were, she said she felt that words had a physical energy, and it was very important for the Mojave language to be forever and not fade away somewhere. And she used these wonderful images of religions and myths. And I was just so happy to read something where the passion of the poet just took over, and for the reader, made it easy and wonderful to read her poems.
Well said, and thank you all very much. What a great poet she is. Her use of metaphor, allusions, and she's mythic, as we know, and loving. I mean, she said, I want her like a river goes. She's just so loving and passionate, as Helen just said. So thank you all very much. And it was a marvelous reading. Our next reading, next Tuesday, the magnificent poets Lori Ann Bosselar and Bart Edelman will be here. So thank you all once again. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you all. We're looking forward to next week.